Welcome to this week's episode of Prime Time. We're covering all sports. We've got Nick co-hosting with us, Jaden on the stats. Let's get straight into it because it was a great week of footy. It was awesome to have it. Awesome to have the footy back.
Oh, man, I loved it. Every second of it. Good to have it back Thursday through Sunday. I watched every second of the games.
A few upsets.
A few.
As round one always has. There's always round one upsets.
Brisbane beating Penrith. No one saw that happening.
No.
Redcliffe beating the Roosters. I don't know who predicted that.
$6.
Yeah, no, that was unreal.
You know, it's when you see I saw a couple Instagram stories. Yeah, I'll throw 10 on it for fun. A couple people in the GC. They were loving life. The fans were going nuts when they won. But like I said, let's get straight into it because it was a top week of footy. Jaden, what's our fan comment of the week? We put out our content across social media. We've got a couple of fan comments. Who do we have?
This week's fan question is coming in from Ali, and it is, can the Bulldogs still make the top 8?
Can the Dogs make the top 8 after the round one performance?
Look, I don't want to overreact, but I'm saying they can't make the 8. That was a very, very poor showing. They got a lot of injuries in their forwards. Their backline's not where it needs to be. It'd be very tough for them to make the 8. They just couldn't score.
Don't be one of those flogs that comes out after round one and say, the Dolphins can make the 8. Wayne Bennett is a master. Penrith can't go for a 3-peat. The Bulldogs, yes, they were the only team to get bashed all week. They were. They didn't have many forwards. It's a long season. It's a round one performance. Let them gel a bit. A lot of players from new clubs.
Difference to Penrith is Penrith can rest on the fact that they're coming off a premiership. They're one of the best teams in the comp. They've got a roster of players that they know are proven. The Bulldogs aren't proven.
I don't think they have anything to worry about. Once they get into building chemistry, start playing some decent footy, Reid Marnie was our standout player, 100%.
If he didn't play the way he did, I'd say they're definitely not making the 8. At the moment, I'll say because of Reid Marnie, they've got a chance for the 8.
Yeah, it looked like we couldn't score tries. Our attack wasn't the best. They looked very scrappy. But I'm saying, let them build some chemistry, build some new combinations. It's a fairly new team. Give it 6 rounds and then say they can't make the 8.
I'm saying if they don't beat Melbourne this week with their depleted side, they're not making the 8.
No, that's again going to be a tough game at Amy Park. But I'm just saying, give them 6 rounds and then make your decision. Let's not jump the gun. I'm not going to say they're going to make the 8, even though it was my bold prediction last week. I'm just saying that they can still make the 8. It's early days. Early days.
Anyways.
But first topic of the day, I want to say, who was your highlight team of the week? We're going to pick a highlight team and pick highlight players. Who was your highlight team?
My highlight team for the week was the Brisbane Broncos, coming into Penrith at Bluebet Stadium and beating Penrith. Very, very tough feat. Brisbane obviously had Reece Walsh out, Selwyn Cobbo playing fullback.
A lot of players out, yeah.
To be able to go in there, win a tough game.
It's a credit to Adam Reynolds' coaching, I think.
I mean, everyone's saying Kevin Walters is a shit coach. He looked like he did pretty well.
I mean, to
Thursday.
beat the defending premiers is great, especially in round one. There was a bit of chat after the game with Jerome Luai and Jameron Salmon.
Yeah.
There's going to be arguments. When you get upset in round one, people are going to have disagreements on the field. It was just cameras were front and centre getting that vision.
I think I agree with most people that say Jerome Luai was probably warranted what he was saying. It's not unusual for players to have a go at each other.
What was he blowing up about?
I don't know. Disagreements on the field. They're not going to say specifically.
No, he
didn't run a line and he didn't catch the ball.
Yeah, he said that he was tired and he missed a line after 19 minutes on the field.
Anyway.
Well, that's what happens when you're a weak-gutted dog. You can't keep up with
I was going to say, Jameron Salmon, you're a weak-gutted dog. Run the line.
No. I mean, I think it's all fair in love and war on the field. You're in the heat of the moment on the field.
Matty Johns has come out and said, it's not unusual for players to do this, but Jerome, just leave it for the locker room so no one sees it. Yeah. And, the media doesn't blow up like we are because we don't really care. But anyways, who was your highlight team for the week?
I'm gonna say the Dolphins.
Yeah, that's fair.
I feel like they surprised a lot of people, and they were the talk of round one. Wayne Bennett showing why you can never count him out. He did it for Queensland Origin with a group of replacement players. We love the movie Replacements. Wayne Bennett is Jimmy McGinty. He doesn't have a marquee player. Anthony Milford was dropped before round one, as in like he was not in the team.
And he's supposed to be one of their marquee signings.
And he's supposed to be one of their better, sixers at the club. Sullivan played extremely well. Players like Marshall King darting out a dummy half, getting the forwards going. I thought they played excellent.
Hamasai Tabuai-Fidow.
Great pronunciation.
Jermaine Sarko. I don't know how they weren't picked up by other big clubs. I mean, especially the Bulldogs who are starving for outside backs. I know I keep harping on the Bulldogs' need for players, but those are players that could have easily been signed, especially when you look at the Storm who are lacking outside backs.
I think it just shows that those Melbourne players that were your veterans, Felice Kafusis, the Bromwich brothers.
Which everyone said were too old.
So they may be washed up. They still have a purpose to fulfill in first grade rugby league, and it showed. They look like they didn't make many errors. They completed all their sets. Classic Wayne Bennett footy. The only thing is, everyone counts Wayne Bennett out as, he always needed the players.
He always had the players.
Yeah. But it looks like if he can do it this year with the Dolphins, it'll just be another feat for him to tick off.
I mean,
in NRL first grade coaching.
What's a successful season for the Dolphins for you guys?
Borderline, if they borderline
Eight.
make the
You
eight.
gotta make the
no,
eight.
no, that's obviously successful. But with the team that they have and not a lot of star players, I say like anywhere from 9th to 11th is successful.
I'd
for
say
them.
because the Titans took ages to make the 8, if they make the 8 in their first season, then that's a success. If they don't, no one's going to remember anyways.
But they
As long as they don't get the spoon.
They really just outplayed the Roosters in terms of like
Well, I think
possession.
there was a stat that Wayne Bennett's never lost to Trent Robinson at Suncorp. If I knew that going into the game, I probably would have bet on Redcliffe.
Yeah, disappointing from the Roosters. Now, our highlight player of the week. Who was your standout player from round 1?
Mine was easily Adam Reynolds. He kicked for over 600 metres in the game, kicked the game-winning field goal. Unbelievable performance. I mean, I give him shit a lot for getting injured, but he did play through an injury this game. He got roughed up a couple times, but he played through the whole game and won them the game. If it wasn't for him, they definitely wouldn't have been in that game and definitely wouldn't have won that game.
Do you think Souths, I know we were harping on it last year, imagine if they still had Adam Reynolds.
Well,
Like, imagine if he... Like, I reckon they probably go close to winning the comp last year with Latrell, Adam Reynolds. I know they're blood and Lockie Ilias, and you know, he's been playing some good footy over the last year and a half. But imagine he stayed at Souths.
it's just always that trade-off. Do you go with the young guy that's coming up and, you know, give him his time to actually play, or do you go with the veteran and keep
Yeah,
him
and
for as
plus
long
the
as you
injuries.
want?
But again, he's playing good footy, and I'm sure if he stays healthy, the Broncos won't bottle it like they did last year.
Nah, they're looking good. Anyway, who's your highlight player?
My highlight of the week, and we just mentioned him, Lockie Ilias.
Okay.
Lockie Ilias, like I said, a lot of people are coming out of the woodworks now. Your Brandies, your Matty Johns are saying Souths can win the comp. Again, coming out after round 1. I don't recommend it. But he played a great game of footy, took the line on really well, defended really well. I think he's an underrated defender. For a young 7 in the game, he comes up out of the line, does his job.
He does get a lot of raps as a great defender, and I really thought he had a great game on the weekend. Every time he touched the ball, it was something good.
Brandy was loving him on
But
commentary.
Brandy was unbearable on commentary. I think he had a hard-on during that commentary. Every time Lockie Ilias touched the ball, oh, great work from Lockie Ilias. It's like, Brandy, relax, mate.
But honourable mention, DCE.
Hat-trick, first
Great
time in his career.
performance. Yeah, no, and from all the Manly boys, I mean, everyone had question marks on Tommy Turbo. How's the hamstring going to hold up? He looked fine. Looked like he was hesitating a bit.
Yeah, still scored a try.
Still looked good, supporting up the middle. But I want to call out the haircuts.
Oh, mate.
The haircuts. Yes, it was for a great cause. They all shaved their heads. I believe it's for cancer.
I respect that they can shave their head with those hairlines.
They raised a lot of money, but geez, they could use a couple of trips to Turkey.
I
from
mean,
what I can see.
DCE and Trebojevic, if they're not in Turkey in November, they're spending their money wrong.
Just a little off-season trip. It's not going to hurt. You'll be back right in time for pre-season.
I mean, Josh Reynolds looks like he did it in the preseason. It's round 1 now. He looks phenomenal.
great. The hair looks great.
He looks like he's aged 10 years backwards.
90% of those Manly boys need a
no.
trip down to Turkey. But like we touched on the injuries during the week. Rugby league can be one of the most unforgiving sports.
It's a gruesome sport.
Like the Roosters, for example. I think they average 2 head knocks a game.
I mean,
Someone's getting knocked out every game. Radley's getting knocked out. Luke Keary's playing with a headgear on. I don't think that's going to do much for Luke Keary. I mean, he was safe in the first round, but...
I just want to know what a headgear does for you when you're copying a Tony Carroll knee to the head.
Yeah, well, what if you're just getting hit in the face? You know that classic dumb and line?
What if he shot you
What
in
if
the
he
face?
shot you in the face?
Yeah, no, it's not
What
going to do
if
much for you.
What if you cop a shot, a Wade Graham on the weekend shot right to the face?
I mean, the only thing is Victor Radley, I'm actually concerned for his health. Every game that I watch the Roosters play, he's getting knocked out. He's coming up wobbly.
Well,
I
a
know.
few people have come out and said they, after watching round 1, again, round 1 jumping the gun, but the Roosters were idiots for getting rid of Sammy Verrills. Because Victor Radley and Brandon Smith are essentially the same player. When you think about it, they can both play 9. They both defend very similarly. Is Brandon Smith an 80-minute hooker?
Yeah, I think that Brandon Smith easily is a top 3 hooker in the comp. On his best day, he's the best hooker in the comp. Every time he plays for New Zealand, I said it last week, he's the best player in the park. It's round 1, don't overreact. He came off with a HIA 15 minutes. That always hurts your performance. Give them a couple of weeks. Like you said, for the Bulldogs, give them till round 6. They're definitely going to be a top 4 side.
But you don't remember, like, when you go watch the old classic games, like the 2000s era, this many injuries or this many people going down with head knocks, injuries, whatever. Like, read through the list of injuries this week, right? Kieran Foran, PCL, out indefinitely. Cam Munster, dislocated finger, 2 to 3 weeks. Xavier Coates, AC joint. Latrell, PCL, expected to play. Matt Lodge, facial injury. Like, it just doesn't stop. Every week there's going to be...
Is Xavier Coates AC or SC?
What's SC?
What's an SC joint?
SC joint. I know it's an AC joint in his shoulder. SC joint.
They said something. It was like between.
Look up
between-
NRL physio on Twitter. He'll give you the whole rundown.
It's between the collarbone and the actual shoulder.
Yeah, the
But
SC joint supports
he's
the
named
shoulder.
to play this week.
He's named to play.
It is. What is it?
Yeah, the SC joint supports the shoulder.
Yeah, so it's not
There
AC.
you go. It's not
SC.
AC. It's a SC joint. Oh, that's the first time here. I'm not really accustomed to anatomy terminology, but well, we hope Xavier Coates is all right. But I mean, that's what I want to bring up is the topic of, is rugby league one of the hardest sports in the world?
Oh,
for players that, like, when you think of NBA, they stop when they have load management. The NFL, very stop-start. AFL, yes, it's a lot of running, but I don't think it's nearly as physical. They play 80 minutes. They're going back and forth 10 metres, right? Non-stop collisions. I don't think there's a tougher sport in the world.
You bring up the NBA, every time they have a small, minute injury, they're taking 2 to 3 games off. They're taking a long period of time off, and when they do come back, they're missing weeks, they're missing games. And then you go, Cam Munster. He had a compound fracture in his finger. His bone was protruding
And
out
then
of
he
his
comes
skin.
back on to play.
He finishes the game. And I know
If LeBron has a compound fracture in his finger, he's out for 3 weeks.
I know
and he's
Kobe.
rested.
I think Kobe dislocated it once, but he finished the game as well. But that's Kobe. That's Mamba mentality. And I know Cam Munster, that thing can get infected. It's round 1. Bellamy, look out for your players. You're risking a whole season for one extra game.
He cares too much about his round 1 record.
Exactly.
Well, and they maintained it. Credit to Melbourne, and you come back against them in round 1. They
mean-
maintained it. It's almost 22 years in a row now.
I mean, NRL players, they're just tough bastards. They just know how to play through injury. And that's like, there's no other sport
I
in the
think
world
we're all
like
in
it.
agreement. Toughest game in the world. Oh, people might say, oh, what about Rugby Union? Firstly, no one watches it on Stan Sports. Secondly, they have a 3-metre defensive line.
Yeah, no.
You know, behind Ruck's feet. This is back and forth, 10 metres, bashing each other for 80 minutes straight.
The toughest thing to come out of Rugby Union is just the caulifloweries, which
Yeah, in
is
the
just
scrums.
ugly. They're just ugly.
Yeah, which is, you know, credit to yous, but still, it's not tough enough. Now, I want to talk about David FIFITA re-signing with the Titans after winning his first game. So I think that was enough to get him over the line. Re-signs for another 2 years. The Titans just want to go on a signing spree. I think they've got the key to success.
I saw that they signed him and his girlfriend, so it was a package deal.
Was she a cheerleader?
No, she's a player, NRLW player.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But
I didn't know that.
the Titans, you think, okay, you know, maybe we'll give it till the end of the season before we start re-signing everybody, especially your biggest name player under the most scrutiny. They win one game, you know what? Winning formula, boys. Let's re-sign everyone.
Are we going to see a lot of package deals with NRL and NRLW stars?
Well, I
Because
know.
there's been a few players that go out with NRLW players. Adam Elliott went out with, I think he's getting engaged to an NRLW player. I'm not opposed to the package deals with the women.
Zach Lomax used to go out with Jess Surges.
Just surges, yeah.
Yeah.
If you could raise your partner's salary up, more power to you. Either way, whichever way it goes.
Increase the household income.
Increase the median household income.
I mean, it's not a bad package deal idea. Maybe the NRL probably put that into the salary cap.
Well, there was a stat today told to me while I was at an event that the NRLW, or the women's registrations into rugby league, is going to outperform men's registration in the next 10 years.
As in total number of players?
There's a big focus on recruiting women, and there's more women playing the game than men. No young men want to play rugby league anymore. I don't know if it's a physicality thing. Apparently, it's a very big thing. If you speak to junior clubs around, like the Canterbury District, Parramatta District, they're pushing women playing rugby league, and apparently it's a big thing. And you're going to see more and more talk about, you know, women's salary increases.
Are they saying the percentage in like marginal growth, or are they talking actual total number of players?
Outperforming the number of registrations.
I think it's just new registrations.
New
Because there are so
registrations.
many men at the moment in the game, and there's...
Well,
It's
that's-
going to
that's
be
what
affected.
it would
I
be.
don't think the NRL understand the crisis that is happening. If not enough people are registering to play the game, your quality of the product's going to get down.
Yeah.
Looking in 10 years, where are you going to get your star players from?
They'll start merging clubs and reducing the total.
They're
number
already
of
doing
teams.
that in the junior leagues. So I don't want to see the NRL become a rugby union where, you know, it's just played by private school kids and you're only getting it from a small pool of juniors.
And they got shoot shield, and then that's Super Rugby.
It's a problem that no one wants to bring up, but we'll bring it up on prime time.
Touching back on Dave FIFITA, so he's signed 24, 25, 26 for $800K a year.
800,000
So that's
a
down
season.
from his $1 million. What do you think of that?
I think it's a great sign from the Titans. I think he's a top player.
He's a top player. He could have got a big money offer from any other
Roosters.
club. Roosters would probably fit him under for about 500,000.
No, I think he's a top quality second rower. Can cover centre, and he'd probably cover the front row if need be.
It's probably speaking of the Titans as well that they're creating this little haven for players. Like, we spoke to Shop earlier in the season. He said he's loving it up in the Gold Coast.
It's low key. You fly under the radar, and there's not as much pressure on you. So if you're a rugby league player, you kind of love that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, speaking of touching on Rugby Union and registration rates in rugby league, Eddie Jones said to be coming out, and he's put a target on Jameron Murray.
That's after he obviously missed out on Suwali.
Yeah, Eddie Jones coaching. Is he coaching the Australian Rugby Union team?
Coaches the Wallabies.
Eddie Jones coaching the Wallabies team, coming for Jameron Murray. Now, we've said it in the past, throughout the last few years. Rugby Union obviously can't make any marquee signings in their code, so they have to go after rugby league players.
They're outsourcing.
They have to. I don't think there's enough talent, apart from in your shields and in your development. They have to go for marquee rugby league signings. Look, in previous years, they've said to be gone after Cooper Cronk. Cooper Cronk would have walked onto the Wallabies team. I think any first grade rugby league player walks straight onto the Wallabies team.
Especially at skill positions.
I think someone like anyone that's played Origin.
Cam Munster, Kalen Ponga.
Look at past players that have just walked straight onto the Wallabies team. You got players like Curtis Rona, who played at the Bulldogs.
Recently, Korobidi.
Korobidi.
Israel Folau.
Yeah, Tom Walker. What's his name? Tom Wright, sorry.
Tom Wright.
Sorry to get his name wrong. Tom Wright. He played a couple games at Manly. Star player for the Wallabies. There's just a talent disconnect.
I mean, the only thing is Cam Murray, besides the prospect of playing in the Rugby Union World Cup, what's the point of playing Rugby Union?
Obviously, if they give him big money, I'd sign Cam Murray on big money.
But now third-party deals are becoming a thing. Are Rugby Union third-party deals as influential as Rugby League third-party deals?
They need to make noise somehow. But yeah, I think there'd be no incentive for Cam Murray to go over. Do you know what? Because if you're Cam Murray and you go over to Rugby Union, no one's watching you for one. If you got to go play for a Super Rugby team, you're on Stan Sport. Not many people are tuning in. Your marketing value goes down probably like 500,000. You're not getting your third parties. They'd probably make him the face of rugby because he's got that private school, nice.
He went to Newington.
Yeah, he was a Newington boy, played rugby, but I just think it just like in terms of exposure, you're not getting nearly enough.
And I think that's where Suwali kind of came into it. Rugby Union were chasing him. He's chosen to stay at the Roosters for $750,000, even though he had rugby probably offering him $1 million.
There's a reason why they want to stay with rugby league. More sponsorship involved. You're getting more TV games. People know you more, whether you're in Sydney or whatnot. It's just, like I said, apart from being in a World Cup, that's why Sonny Bill went over. He wanted to play for the Kiwis.
All Blacks.
The All Blacks?
Yeah. All
Sorry,
Blacks.
that's my bad. Yeah, we still call them Kiwis.
Touching on Suwali, so $900K he was offered at Souths. He's taken $750 at Roosters.
I don't get that. Why take $150,000?
Joe Suwali, he was said to be offered like it would increase in the number of years. It was like something like $800,000 in the first year, $900,000 in the second year, $1 million in the third year. But he's taken $700,000 with the Roosters. $750,000. We touched on it last week with Dom Young. What is it about the Roosters that makes these players go, yeah, I want to stay?
Look, I don't know, but I don't want to out my current employer, but if a competitor offers me $150,000 more, I'm probably leaving.
I'm going to take it. I don't know. I mean, he hasn't won a comp, and it must just be what they're building. Apparently, it's said to be around his trust with Trent Robinson, his relationship with Nick Politis. But whatever they're selling at the Roosters, everyone's buying into it for a lot cheaper.
Right, that Nick Politis either has a way of words or way with money.
Master salesman, the Greekman, or how do you pronounce that?
I don't know, Greek patriot. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they're doing something right over in thing. Now, Junior AMONE,
yeah,
for the St George Dragons. Now, the NRL has taken away its no-fault stand-down policy, I believe. Correct. So Junior AMONE is now free to play. Now, I don't want to get into the ins and outs of what he did because I actually don't know. He pulled the hammer out on someone, didn't actually hit someone in the head.
I don't know if he chased someone with a hammer. I'll leave that for the court.
Well, Jon-Bernard in the NBA apparently pulled a gun out on someone. So pulling a hammer out on someone in Australia isn't that bad in the grand scheme of things when you think
he's
about
missing 2 games. And that's maybe he shouldn't even be missing. He didn't pull a gun on anyone.
It was just a live stream.
Yeah, just a live stream.
Was it a live stream at the club, Jon-Bernard? What happened there?
He was just on an IG live and just
pulled out a pistol.
Pulled out
a Smith &
smiling.
Wesson. Now, I don't understand why the person that's supposed to be the face of the NBA right now is pulling a gun out on Instagram Live. That doesn't make any sense to me.
He's trying to find his way out of the NBA.
In Australia, they give players a lot of education. They'd be like, guys, stay off social media. Maybe, you're allowed to have lives outside of footy, but
Just limit it.
It's $200 million contract for Jon Morant.
Just sign with Nike.
Just sign with Nike. Imagine you're Nike, right? You just had to get rid of Kyrie Irving because he made some comments.
No, he didn't make. He shared a link to a documentary.
He shared a link. Sorry, you just had to get rid of Kyrie Irving. Shared a link to a documentary, and then Jon Morant, your star player,
New signing
to Nike, pulls a gun out on IG Live. You'd hate to be the PR guy in Nike. We're gonna have to stick by Ja, even though he pulled the gun out.
And I'm loving the TikTok trends about Jon Morant. Each one gets funnier. Him just trying to act gangster. And I don't know if that's what he wants to do.
Well,
more power to you.
Like Damien Hood is legit from
Compton.
Yeah. But you won't see him acting up. He's a proper professional down in Portland, right? But Jon Morant, not a gangster.
And LeBron, he's from the ghetto of, I think, Cleveland, he says, but he reads books.
But he reads Malcolm X books.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying stay educated, but don't be pulling guns out on IG Lives.
But going back to Junior Amone,
yeah.
I'm actually happy the NRL have let him play. It's innocent until proven guilty. He may have done nothing wrong.
As it should have been for the past couple of years.
Yeah,
we've seen
a lot of players have missed too much time, and it's just not good to see. Let the Dragons, who are struggling with players
God
as it
knows
is.
The Dragons
named at number 21 this week, so he's a chance.
He'll play.
They need him.
Yeah.
They need they just need someone just to be with Ben Hunt on the field.
Because right now it seems like it's Ben Hunt and nobody else.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for Ben Hunt. What did you say? He's a bricklayer with 20 people. He's the only one that knows how to lay bricks.
Laid that out the other week. That was hilarious from them. But I want to talk about coaches. Okay, there's I think a big disparity between the good coaches in the NRL and the coaches that are just ticking a box and getting by in the NRL.
Yeah.
And for so many years now, it's the same coaches being just shopped around to different clubs. They do a couple of years stints here and there because you got your top line coaches, your Wayne Bennett's, your Craig Bellamy's, your Trent Robinsons, right? But then you've got your Anthony Griffins who have been to 6 other clubs in their tenures as a coach, and they can just get an assistant job whenever they get sacked. There's no new blood coaches coming through.
I mean, you get your Serraldos, your Adam O'Briens, the Titans coach, I forget his name,
Holbrook,
yeah. So they do get some every now and then, but it's few and far between. Mostly you're getting Anthony Griffin getting a second or third try. Seabold's on his third club. Des Hasler's every other year.
It's like, I reckon you get your chance. All right, you might not have the players at some club, but what about all these coaches that are assistant coaches in your junior grade, your SG ball level, your under-20s level, your Jersey Flags, that want to get up the ranks, but it's just Stephen Kearney getting another assistant job at Melbourne, or I guarantee you'll probably be coaching the Dragons in a year's time or something like that. It's a revolving door of coaches in the NRL, and no one seems to talk about it. It's just everyone's someone's mate, and I can get you a gig here.
And the perfect example of that is Craig Bellamy, Wayne Bennett. They're top tier. But then someone like Tim Sheens, who got sacked in 2012, he's come back now, and Tigers don't look any better. They probably could have just given it straight to Benji, or given it to someone like who's the Roosters assistant coach, King.
Yeah, Matt King.
He should definitely get a gig somewhere. So once they start blooding new coaches, different playing styles, let them have a chance. And I think it's probably better for the game. Tim Sheens, as much as he's probably he's on a 1-year deal, maybe just move along straight away.
How long do you have to bide your time as an assistant coach before you say, okay, I definitely deserve a first grade role?
Well, you
can see all the coaches that have been assistants to Bellamy have all gone on to do great things.
Besides Stephen Kearney.
I mean, he's had some success here and there. But I'm just saying, there's got to be, I think, some more new coaches in the NRL.
I mean, right now, the Trent Robertson coaching tree is getting a lot of love. A lot of coaches that were under him are starting to, become NRL coaches and do okay. So,
hey, I don't know about you, Nick. I'd love to see a woman coach a first grade NRL team. Jaden, do you think there's going to be any room for that in the next
maybe
3 to 5 years?
Just surges.
Maybe as assistant role.
Yeah, I wouldn't be.
Do you think that dynamic would be hard? A woman giving instructions on in a men's rugby league game?
I don't think it'd be ideal.
The locker rooms would be a bit awkward.
Jeez, yeah. There's got to be some, maybe rules in place for that. But I think there will be some room for assistant coaches.
I think it'll definitely happen. It'll definitely happen.
No, that brings us to our top 5 for the week. We're going to do a top 5 every week. You can see them on TikTok and Instagram at the JBK Show. We're going to start off with our top 5 coaches. Starting with Nick, number 5, we've got Kevin Walters.
Who's not a shit coach.
Who's not a shit coach, apparently. No, that was in there. Adam Reynolds is well and truly their coach. No.
At number 5, we've got Craig Fitzgibbon, the Sharks coach. He's come in. He's got the side running well, made the top 4 last year.
Even without Nico Hines on the weekend, they still look like they had a good structure about them. They got some good players. They're going to be a top 4, top 8 team.
But more so that the players actually respect the coach. They say the discipline in the club is what's most important, and that's what he's driving. And that's where, the Sharks, they've had a turnaround from when he's come on. John Morris kind of copped a bit of a bad showing when he was at the Sharks, and Craig, he's taken over, came under from Trent Robinson, as I said before, and they're going to be playing well. They'll be playing finals football this year.
Number 4, I'm going to go with Number 4, I'm going with Ivan Cleary. Ivan Cleary went through a bit of a rough patch when Phil Gould was at the Penrith Panthers. Got sacked from his role. Now they're one of the teams that could be the first team since the 1980s to go for a 3-peat championship. What he's done at Penrith and the systems that he's played, it's going to look back on history as one of the best teams in the NRL. And I think it's a credit to Ivan Cleary's coaching. He probably doesn't get enough credit for it. For a young side that he has, to instill the confidence that they have in playing against other men and other, well-known teams, I think Ivan Cleary deserves a lot of credit, and he's my number 4.
Let's forget about his time at the Tigers. Focusing on his time at Penrith, he's easily a top 5 coach.
He's got a 55% win rate overall, but at Penrith 76%.
There you go.
Jeez,
that's quality.
Is that a players? Is that?
It's definitely a talent thing.
A talent thing?
But he's been there twice, and in separate tenures, he's been extremely successful.
I think even someone like Ivan Cleary couldn't get the Tigers to turn around. Who is going to be? Because it doesn't look like it's going to be Tim Sheens or Robbie Farah. I'll tell you that much.
Anyway,
who's your number 3?
At number 3, I'm going with Trent Robinson. He probably easily could be number 1, but his time at the Roosters, he's won so many minor premierships, back-to-back premiers in 2018, 2019. He's one of the best coaches in the NRL. All the players keep signing there. Sawali just re-signed there, saying that his relationship with Robinson was the main factor in him re-signing. So he's easily number 3.
Number 2, I'm going to go with Wayne Bennett. After the first round, everyone has jumped back on the Wayne Bennett bandwagon. He got the Dolphins to win their first round game against the Roosters, but his record speaks for itself. Look at what he's done at clubs like St. George, the Brisbane Broncos, the glory days that he had with them. Yes, the criticism, like we touched on earlier, is he's had to have the players at the time, but look what he's done at the origin level as well. Yeah. Players want to play for him. He's not so much, as what people say, an analytical coach or an X's and O's coach, but he manages the players well and he gets the best out of the players. That's why he's number 2.
He's all strategy and defence, and he made the grand final at Souths, went deep with Newcastle. And, the Dolphins winning round 1, that's probably one of the biggest upsets in round 1 history, beating the Roosters, who are probably premiership favourites. Easily number 2.
Number 1, I think we can both agree on.
Craig Bellamy. That's the easiest answer. He's one of the greatest coaches of all time. Yes, he cheated for one season or a couple of seasons.
I wouldn't call him a cheat. That was some accounting.
But barring that,
payroll accounting.
I would give them their premierships back. He's easily the best coach. Every time new players come in, they look like $1 million players. No one's probably had more players signed from their team to other players in the competition. So if you're looking strictly on that, and obviously, once they leave the Melbourne Storm, they become shit players. And that's all coaching.
Yeah, I wouldn't say shit players, but they're not the same player that they are when they're at Melbourne. And he just gets, like we said with Wayne Bennett, gets the best out of his players. He gets the absolute best out of any player that goes to Melbourne.
There's no other coach in history that's gotten more out of their players. That's why he's the greatest coach of all time.
Yeah, and we're also big fans of coach.
He's top of the win percentage as well for a first-grade coach, 69.6%.
The number 1 winning percentage in the NRL, Craig Bellamy.
History?
History.
Just on that stat alone, that's why he's the GOAT, and it's not debatable.
Yeah.
That's fair to say. Looking ahead to round 2 this week, I think it's going to be another great game of footy. I led last week, being 5 from 8. Nick, you tipped what, Parramatta?
No. The one I got wrong was Newcastle against the Warriors.
In New Zealand. Which
But if Kalen Ponga finishes the game, I'm 5 from 8.
I agree. Well, looking ahead to Thursday this week, again, we will be saying our old man's tip, so we're going to be putting him on the spot each week so he doesn't change his tip. But this week we've got Penrith versus Souths, again, at Penrith's home ground. I don't know with this one.
I'm only going with Penrith because Latrell's questionable to play. Jai Arrow's out and Tavita Totola's not playing.
We saw Latrell on Glass Island on Monday Arvo. He looked like he was all right. He looked like he's ready to play this week. He was in good spirits. He was promoting the fight this week, the Tim Tszyu fight versus Tony Harrison. He looked like he was ready to go.
I think that maybe will rest him just because obviously the hamstring troubles from last year. It's round 2. So I'd go with the safe pick. Penrith have to bounce back. It's in Penrith. They're not losing back-to-back games in Penrith.
Penrith will want to do a job after losing last week. They'll want to, be showing everyone, yes, we're a force to be reckoned with in this comp. Don't count us out. And, not that Souths won't put up a fight. A lot of people have been saying Souths look unbelievable and they're almost favourites to win the comp. But it'll be a great game, and I'm going to go with Penrith as well. Our old man's gone with Penrith. We got the Eels versus Sharks at CommBank Stadium.
Another tough game, but I'm going to go with the Sharks. Yes, Nico Hines is still not playing, but I was very impressed with the Sharks last week. They've got a great team. I might take Mulatalo anytime try scorer. I was unlucky last week, got it knocked out of his hands.
Did you see the smile on his face? And then it got knocked out. He was counting his chickens.
And Parramatta, they're still very, very much injured, so I don't really think they're going to be able to keep up with Cronulla. I'll take Cronulla in a tight one.
I think it's going to be a tight game as well. I'm going to go with Parramatta. CommBank Stadium, I thought they had a good showing against Melbourne. They fought right to the end. I just think, Mitchell Moses, he'll lead from the front. And, just some players that were, I think, a surprise for us. Like your Hopgoods.
Yeah, came out of nowhere.
Came out of nowhere for us. I just think they've still got some quality around the park. Do they have any inclusions this week?
Not that I know of.
I think they're fielding pretty much the same team. But I think
Parramatta. We've got Bailey Simonson, Hayes Dunster,
just a change in the back
Ogden.
line.
Yeah, I think that'll be enough for them to get over the line. So I'm going to go with Parra this week. And Richard's gone with the Sharks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great minds think alike.
Broncos versus Cowboys.
Oh, mate, this is always tough. I think it's like every game they've played since their grand final.
Decided by a field goal.
Always decided by a field goal. So it's a 50-50 pick. So I'm just going to go with the Cowboys. I really like the way they played. They had a shit second half last week.
But judging off their first half, it looked like they were going to belt.
Yeah, I thought the Raiders were going to be an easy 13-plus game. And you know what? I think Brisbane coming off a high. They got to regress from last week. So I'm going to take the Cowboys.
You know who looks really good? And I don't think it's going to get enough credit until, the Cowboys go deep this year. Drinkwater.
Yeah, no, he was class.
He looks sharp. He looks so sharp as a fullback. And I know he started, he was playing in the halves early on in his career, but I reckon he's made a home out of that fullback. And by the end of the season, he's going to be talked about as one of the best fullbacks in the comp.
When he was at Melbourne, he was picked ahead of Pappenhausen by Craig Bellamy. So that's a pretty big rap. So if that's the reason, until obviously Pappenhausen took over and was one of the best fullbacks in the comp, he's obviously got the talent, and it's nice to see it on show.
I think that's Cowboys all round for everyone. The Roosters versus the Warriors at Allianz Stadium.
This might be the easiest tip of the week, maybe the only easy tip of the week. You got to take the Roosters to bounce back.
Yeah, no, I got to agree with you.
Joseph Manu back.
Joseph Manu back into the centres. I just think after losing the way that they did get embarrassed, losing to the newest team in the comp last week. I don't think they're going to go back-to-back. That's going to be on their mind. They're probably going to want to make a statement this week. The Warriors away from home, they're a team I just don't touch.
Yeah, no.
I don't touch them. So I'm going the Roosters, and I'd probably take them at the line or something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, the Melbourne Storm versus the Bulldogs.
This would be easy if Melbourne were full strength, but Cam Munster's not playing. Xavier Coates' name, but probably not going to play. And the Bulldogs were very lackluster last week. So I'm going to go with Melbourne, but in a very tight game.
I think it's going to be a tight game.
I think the Bulldogs will bounce back well. Reid Marnie played well. Kick out. Hopefully he doesn't kick it out on the full this week.
I don't know why he's kicking on last tackle. But I mean, look, the Bulldogs definitely need a gel. That was their first game together with a new team. I just think, I reckon it's going to be a tight one this game. I'd probably take Bulldogs at the line, but I think Melbourne win.
Yeah, I'll take,
at Amy Park.
I'll take Melbourne this week.
Skip past Dolphins Raiders.
Yeah, so we got Dolphins Raiders on Super Saturday as well. But this is a first home game in Redcliffe.
Sold out KO Stadium.
Yeah, KO Stadium. Good on KO. Getting the name right.
Dolphins played really well last week. I think they outperformed what everyone's expectations were. The Raiders, they did well, but I still don't think with Xavier Savage out, they're just missing that spark. Jack Wyden was awesome.
I want to highlight Emre Gula's mullet.
Oh, man. He looks scary.
He looks like a scary Turk out on that field.
Yeah, no.
I'll tell you that. But friend of the show, we'll definitely have Emre on down the line. But, geez, he's whacked on some size in the off-season.
That whole Canberra team, I don't know if it's the green jerseys, but they all look jacked.
They're jacked.
They look massive.
They are jacked. They're a team, it's just, if Canberra are on, they can probably beat anyone in the comp.
Yeah.
It's just, how consistent can they be? Look, you saw what they did with the Cowboys. They came back in that second half. Probably could have gone their way. They just need to play a consistent brand of footy. But again, with the Dolphins being so fresh, I don't think they can maybe back up a performance as good as they did as they did against the Roosters. So I'm going to go Canberra this week.
I think you got to look at it as well. Canberra played in North Queensland, and now they're travelling to Redcliffe. Redcliffe had to go to Suncorp, which is in Brisbane, and now back at Redcliffe. No travel time. It's going to take a toll on the Canberra players. You got to take Redcliffe here.
A game that absolutely no one wants to watch. The Knights versus the Tigers. Jeez. Now, this is going to be a tough watch. I'm sure there'll be a completion rate below 30% from both teams. But I don't know who to take here, because the Tigers obviously want to bounce back from last week. Newcastle looked okay in patches against the Warriors. if Kalen Ponga stays on, that game goes in any direction. So, I don't know. I think I'm going to take the Tigers at home. If they lose 2 games in a row at Leichhardt, call it a day. I'd sack Tim Sheens after 2 games.
I don't want to make the same mistake twice in 2 weeks. But if the Tigers lose this round, I'll never bet on them or tip them to win for the rest of the year. So I'm taking the Tigers this week, and I'll learn my lesson.
And talk about a great doubleheader for a Sunday. Dragons versus the Titans. This is what Sunday footy is all about. I'll tell you that much. Everyone will be tuning in on Sunday. No, Dragons versus the Titans. Hopefully Junior AMONE comes back into the team. Like Jaden said, he's named at 21 this week. That'll probably provide him with a bit of spark. But I think the Titans looked okay.
No, they performed really well. AJ Brimson looked good. Kieran Foran, questionable to play with a PCL injury. He's getting scans. I don't know why he's named. He's probably not going to play.
If he's named, I think he'll play.
Sammy Verrill's 50th NRL game. So,
We love Sammy. Former teammate of yours.
Maybe back him for a try, Sammy Verrills this
Hopefully
week.
he stays injury-free. We like seeing Sammy doing well. He's one of our favourite hookers.
And I don't think I'll take the Dragons once this year, so I'm taking the Titans.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Titans. It's the Dragons' first game. We watched, and the trials aren't indicative of how they perform, but we watched how they trialled. The Titans after last week, I think they're looking good. They're going to build upon that, so I'm going to go the Titans as well. It's going to be a cracking round of footy.
Who did Big Rich take in the last 3?
He's gone the Knights.
Who has Big Rich taken?
Yeah, he's gone the Knights and he's gone the Titans.
Okay.
As
and
well.
The Canberra game?
And in that Melbourne game, he's gone Melbourne and Canberra. He's taken the Raiders as well with me.
By myself.
But if we take a look at other sports, we got Jon Jones in his return to the UFC. We called it last week. Jaden, you called us out and said, mate, don't sleep on Cyril Gahn. Mate, Jon Jones
The fight's going to go to decision.
Mate, he beat him in 2 minutes 30 in the heavyweight division. He just took a shit on the heavyweight division because you got people like Francis Ngannou who took Cyril Gahn, you know.
It was a 50-50 fight. Yeah,
took him to 5 rounds.
5 rounds.
Ngannou's come out on Twitter and said, congratulations, Jon Jones.
Johnny boy.
Yeah, Johnny boy, I'm still the champ. Now, I think the UFC need to give the people what they want. Put Jon Jones up against Francis Ngannou. I don't care what it costs to get it. Everyone wants that. They don't want to see him go up against the firefighter Stipe Miocic, who looks like he's past it, who lost to Daniel Cormier, who Jon Jones pretty much made him his bitch throughout Daniel's career. And Daniel Cormier, phenomenal wrestler, phenomenal UFC talent. But I'm just saying, Jon Jones is just a step ahead of all UFC heavyweights.
No,
the division is depleted, and for someone to take 3 years off and then do that in 2.5 minutes, it's what the UFC needed. They need some form of star power there. It was good to see Conor McGregor in the crowd there with Jake Gyllenhaal. But yeah, the UFC back on the map in the heavyweight division. They need to start making fights for what the people want.
Yeah, no, Stipe definitely isn't the fight people want to see, but it's probably going to happen. I think it said it's going to happen in July. I expect Jon Jones to wipe the floor with him as he did with Cyril Gahn. And then, hopefully Ngannou comes around and they can fight later in the year.
Talking pound for pounds as well, so everyone knows pound for pounds voted by fellow fighters.
Volkanovski's still holding the pound for pound.
Volk's won, but Volk went up a weight class and he lost the fight. Jones has done the same thing and he's won. Do you say that Jones is pound for pound?
Well, how many fights does Jon Jones need to win before he's declared pound for pound greatest of all time?
I'll go after one.
He barred after the fight. He did the bar after the fight.
He's the GOAT.
He is the GOAT, unequivocally. But I don't know, Volkanovski, there was some confusion around whether he was the pound for pound after because he did lose to Islam, and there was some. He got taken away. Then there was some discussions about Islam getting on an IV drip, which wasn't allowed. I don't know. It was up in the air, but I think Jon Jones, hands down, the greatest of all time. It was like when George St. Pierre came back after extended time off, slotted straight into a championship fight and won. He's done the exact same thing, and he's a heavyweight champion. It's just, I want to be there for his next fight.
No, he's definitely pound for pound, just for how easy he made it look.
Yeah.
He finished him in 2:30. It was that easy, it looked rigged.
He started dancing after as well. The post-fight speech was a bit questionable. It looked like he was on something.
Yeah.
I would want to be taking a USADA test after that. But Nick, Liverpool, we are talking EPL, Liverpool
7-0.
beating Man United 7-0.
Which is disappointing because Man U have been on a good run. They've beat Barcelona. They've been one of the best informed teams since the World Cup. I think they're going to win the Europa League. They're going really well. But to match up against Liverpool, who aren't doing too well, I think they're coming 10th in the EPL at the moment.
Yeah, what's the standings?
So if they're coming 10th, Man United, you're going for a top 3 spot. If you're losing 7-0, just mail in the season.
They've slotted into 5th, Liverpool.
Jeez, that's a big win.
After that. But United's last 20 games, 16 wins, 3 draws, 1 loss to Arsenal, who are first, and then they go out and lose 7-0.
There's got to be some mercy rule implemented into that. If you're losing by 7-0, I know we do it in FIFA. If it's 4-0, that's it. Turn the game.
I think it's 3-0 in FIFA.
7-0. I know there's a point differentials, on the ladder, but Jesus Christ, how do you lose? You're a bunch of professionals. How are you losing a game 7-0?
I mean, it's classic Man United. Every time they travel to Anfield, they just struggle. They don't play well. I think I'll put that down to them just having a one-off bad outlier game, but it's not looking good for them.
I saw a stat. Mohamed Salah from Liverpool has scored. He's gotten 2 yellow cards since 2017 for taking his shirt off against United at Anfield, and United have scored 1 goal in that 5 period. So he's gotten more yellow cards for taking his shirt off than
more yellow cards for celebrating goals than Man U have scored since 2017.
That's a stat. They're looking to the weekend ahead. Obviously, a big round of NRL. AFL's about a week away of kicking off. We've got the NBL, the Sydney Kings going up against the New Zealand Breakers. It's 1 apiece in the series. We went down there last Friday.
They've each taken an away game.
They've each taken an away game, so it's going to be a big game.
Friday night.
We sat down with Andrew Bogut this week. That episode will be out fairly shortly. He goes into being a part owner in the Sydney Kings. We hope the Sydney Kings get up for Bogut's sake. He's a gentleman of a bloke. But that wraps us up for prime time. We want to thank you for coming along. Check us out on socials at the JBK Show for all our clips.
We'll be putting out our bets over the coming days as well, so follow along for that as well.
Yeah. Jaden, any tips for the week?
Nah, not for me, mate.
Well,
not for me.
Stay safe and take it easy. That's prime time.